Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the semifinals of Blood on the Bayou 3, hosted at The Adventure Begins. I am Charles. I'm joined by Josh. How are you feeling about this matchup?
Well, Charles, I will be honest, not a matchup that I really know too much about. I I honestly would not have expected to see this matchup, but with I'm honestly I don't really know. I'm interested to see what does happen here. I can see the helmet here definitely on the Fang side going to shut down at least one blood rush turn, but we'll see how this really goes. See who can get online the fastest, or see if Fang can get online fast enough to not just be buried by the Levia value of just how big these cards are.
Yeah, so Chris is our Levia fan. He's been playing Levia for a very long time. Knows the deck in and out. And Buddy, the person who beat me in the top 8 game, playing out here. I know that on multiple occasions, Chris has said that the one deck archetype that he is most afraid of is Warriors. So it's going to be interesting to see if that goes to show here. As the first turn of the game is just Chris playing that Beast Within. Buddy sculpting his hand a bit.
So
we are seeing the...
Just going to see the dagger coming out because it's always just one, right? Going to have Obsidian Fire Fang Pledge Fealty going to come in and mark the Levia, as well as giving a bump and a +1 to the dagger. And Buddy, just like that, a third of the way to getting all the fealties online. So Fang obviously trying to get on the quest, one of these like quest type heroes, trying to get 3 fealties, and then the swords become free. And able to swing, and once the Fang is swinging the swords for free, it is 4 card hands that are just going to start to bury the opponent in value.
So one fealty already created here. That Searing Gaze on the next chain link going to on-hit mark. And we're having a nice little 0 for 4 here to follow it up with that for the Drakai.
So Chris forced the block here so that Buddy isn't online by turn 1, which would be insanely fast. Throwing out some armor, dedicating it to that 4 block. Going to
Alpha.
Get the Seeds of Corruption, right?
That is a Howl from Beyond, getting
Howls
the
from
next
Beyond.
Shadow or Brute attack +3.
Getting his recursion package going and going to give the +3 to his next attack. But he's going to go ahead and push forward the Valiant Dynamos, get that value out of it.
Yeah, we see that Loyalty Beyond the Grave in hand getting played out.
So to block the 4 and still take 5. No arsenal here, but still sitting out just a big attack. It was the sim packing not getting the arsenal disruption that you would hope for it to get. And Buddy going to start out here with is it Oath of Loyalty? I'm getting better at the Draconic cards. All right.
The Oath of Loyalty, 0 for 4. We are only playing Draconic cards for the rest of the turn because anything else would be heresy.
That is true. Going to pledge our oath, and we'll see what Chris giving it a think here. Seeing he does have the 3 cards in graveyard, so graveyard is stocked, ready to actually do something. And going to take the 4, removing the mark, and Buddy is online on Fang. Free daggers coming in, 2 cards in hand. Looks like we may start getting into almost a race type scenario. Yeah, with the reaction here, the affirm loyalty going to pump that up and make, and going to, this should have made another fealty, right?
Yeah, the affirm loyalty should have made a 4th fealty. It looks like Buddy might not have caught that. Nonetheless, Obsidian Fire Vein just coming in for 1. I believe I saw Chris draw up a Blood Rush Bellow, so the no blocking makes a lot of sense for this turn.
Looks like Buddy going to see if he can correct the game state to have his 4th fealty, going to have a little bit of have the judge sitting next to the table confirm that that is going to be all right, even though the trigger was missed. And moving on, Chris going to have a think here on 1 with 1 card in hand. How bad could this be? There is a card here that pumps 5, right?
Yeah, it could be a Hunt's End if Chris was very scared. Buddy could also just arsenal the card. So Chris thinking of whether or not he actually wants to block for 1 damage.
And again, it's so difficult to block these warrior decks, because they just say, okay, well, you put out 3 block onto my 1 and I just arsenal this card and move on, and now you just kind of wasted 2 value. Here comes the Blood Rush value, pitching a Blood Rush, discarding his 6, drawing 2. So let's
Yeah, unfortunately, Chris is seeing 2 Blood Rushes in the same hand, where he really doesn't want to. He wants to stay very aggressive, and pitching a Blood Rush is not what he wants to be doing.
So going to have the Claw come in for 5, go again. Pitching a yellow Slaughter Beast. Claw coming in for 5, Buddy gonna give it a think here. Still at 35, pretty healthy, and knows that there's gonna be another Blood Rush at the bottom of the deck. Not sure if Chris runs Call of the Grave, but if
I believe in his list he is running Call to the Grave.
Alright, so if he does, he can at least try and get the deck shuffled. Otherwise, just really kind of looking for a single, one other copy of Blood Rush Bellow here to work with.
Yeah, and I think if you're really trying to race at this point in time, you can't rely on that Blood Rush on the bottom, meaning that there's theoretically only 1 left in the deck, as this game will end before that happens.
And then going to come out with a Boneyard Marauder, just 8, just a 1 card, so 1 cost 8 with Blood Rush, and hitting the recursion piece. So 1 blood deck going to be in Banish. So here,
Yeah,
with the Blood Rush, going to get 13 damage presented.
yeah, this is pretty low in terms of damage. Chris not drawing the blues to make it happen. Having a pretty lackluster turn. Especially since Buddy didn't have to use the Kabuto on this turn.
Yeah, definitely. I really thought that Buddy would just shove the Kabuto immediately, but being very disciplined and seeing that a yellow was pitched to it. And again, Buddy gonna open up here with starting off with the Oath of Loyalty, just another 0 for 4, and then going to come in with the daggers behind it. The sneaky little daggers. Life totals evened up, but it definitely feels like Buddy may be a little bit ahead with the free daggers.
Ooh, and we're seeing the block with the Scowling Flesh Bag just going to intimidate one of the cards out of Buddy's hand. Chris may be trying to snipe the more damaging card, or just trying to stuff the turn and get a little bit more tempo on his side.
So it looks like Chris... I can't see what's in Chris's hand, but it's screaming to me that he definitely wants to hold on to this. So it looks like another 5 coming in. And then a Blaze Headlong for another 4. Another big turn here. I mean, Buddy presenting 13 as well. Actually, presenting more than that, because now he has a sword gun, be presenting at least 14 without a huge power card. That's pretty crazy value.
Yeah, Fang is definitely racking up the value in this game. Of course, the 3 fealties making those dagger attacks free helps out a ton. Chris, unfortunately, looks like he either is going to have a very large hand, or maybe the hand doesn't block as well as he would like. But we shall see, as he will have a 5-card hand to retaliate with.
So Chris cashing in. There it is, another Blood Rush Bellow. They were super clumped up, so a huge hand here, using the Flesh Bag to try and get this big turn here. So we'll see what he can do. A Swing Big going to be the discard here, and drawing 2 up. 4 cards with Blood Rush Bellow. If I'm Buddy here, I'm definitely shoving the Kabuto, right?
Yeah, this is the last Blood Rush that we will feasibly see in this game, so this makes a lot of sense.
So with the Kabuto out, that's going to not allow him to attack with his other weapon. So essentially this Kabuto getting 7 value. Which is crazy for his headpiece.
Chris deciding on whether or not Scabs is a good roll here. I did also see a Loyalty from Beyond the Grave in Buddy's hand. Should he have to use that, he'll have 2 engraved to draw a card at the start of his turn. So Buddy definitely with the options on the defense.
Both of our players here seeing a lot of their power cards really early, and definitely able to do able to do the thing they want to do. Notably, Chris still having the Howl from Beyond to be able to pump this if he does have the resources. Trying to count out the resources here and see what he can do with this 4-card hand.
Yeah, Chris, I believe, said that if he rolls a 4 or higher on Scabs, he could present lethal on the turn. So wondering if that is what he wants to go for. It is, of course, a semifinals game, so maybe you gotta risk it to take it all here.
Very good point, Charles. It is 14 playing 23 here in our semifinals match at Blood on the Bayou 3, presented by Adventure Begins. As we are in here and Chris is in the tank, trying to decide what to do on this Blood Rush turn. Going to close the chain. Howl from Beyond coming out, going to pump his next attack for 3. So a +5 on the next attack. Slaughter Beast coming out, which is, I'm pretty sure that is a 7. And so going to be coming in here for a casual 12.
Yeah, so 12 is over half of Buddy's remaining life total.
Hitting one of the non-hits, moving it to banish, so that's always good to have that cleared up for Levia. 2 blood debt in here, two blood debt in the banish, But one of them is a go again attack. So if we do flip into Blasphemous, at least we do have one go again attack in Banish.
But I don't see us going into Blasphemous considering that Chris would have to make it through Buddy's next turn without losing any points of life.
Yeah, very true. And he doesn't have Husk.
Yeah, it doesn't seem feasible in the slightest. So I think Chris is just going to try to just deal as much damage as possible here.
So blocking 4, taking 8, and then going to use his last card in hand to go ahead and make an agility token for next turn. So now
I think Chris can be a little happy with that hand. Of course, the Caputo made it a lot worse, or missing 5 damage on that turn. But the agility going into next turn, a new 4-card hand, 14 life is still enough of a life buffer to maybe not have to block. So it'll be interesting to see.
See if Buddy's going to cash in the loyalty from Beyond the Grave and go ahead and draw that extra card this turn. Trying to see if it's going to be enough to go ahead and try and present lethal and force some cards out of Chris's hand. As with the agility token on, you always want to be pressuring these brute players as much as possible, as they definitely want to hold on to as many cards as they can with the agility token.
Yeah, and I think in the hand for Buddy, we have a For the Drakai, and I think I saw a Hunt's End. So, very large hand for Buddy. Definitely might be presenting lethal for this turn.
Gonna pop one of the fealties and use the blade. My goodness.
Flurry.
Blade Flurry. Yeah, I typed it in looking for the card, and then all of a sudden I just blanked on it after seeing how many cards start with the word blade, which you know. So here we are going to block with just equipment to try and cover this up and hold on to some cards, not getting the value from the Apex.
Oh, this is nice. This is a Tooth of the Dragon sidestepping the equipment block here and giving that For the Drakai +3. So 7 damage coming through. Not quite lethal, but of course going to 2 against Fang is very risky.
Chris saying, send me the bill. See if we can get some cards out of Fang's hand to make blocking a little bit easier next turn.
Yeah, the 4-card hand here, the agility token on the turn. Chris at 2, Buddy at 15. Chris definitely has a life total to make up in this case.
A good way to start out here by cracking the sash. Going to make it so that all of his attacks, Savage Sash, is going to cost 1 less with 6 or more. So the Slaughter Beast going to be coming in here. This is a 1/4/7 with Go Again.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out is that while Chris's equipment has many A- counter on it, Buddy's equipment has no counters on it. Of course, the Valiant Dynamo refreshing itself after he is attacked 2 times on the turn, but he also is a 13 life lead without using any of his equipment, as we are seeing them being played right now.
Going to mark blocking all 7 here. So Chris with 2 more cards in hand. What can
I wonder if he wants to decide to roll Scabs here. Very interested.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of now or never, you know.
I just don't think he can do enough damage to threaten the life total for Buddy in this situation.
Dread Screamers are going to have the Go Again coming in. So Dread Screamer going to come in here for 6. Is a casual 1 for 6 with Go Again. Pretty good with the sash. So Buddy going to take the 6 down to 9. And going to close the chain here.
Yeah, I believe Chris needs a couple more cards engraved to play the Boneyard Marauder in his hand. Oh, and it's a Shadow Realm Horror instead.
So Shadow Realm Horror. Let's see if he can... Does he hit here in order to get all 3 modes?
Now, if he does hit here...
He doesn't have the resources though, right?
Well, I believe the Savage Sash would reduce costs.
So he can play the Boneyard Marauder that would be in there, right?
But I don't think he has enough cards engraved, even if he did banish a Boneyard Marauder. So it looks like, yeah, only 1 card engraved, so even if he did banish a Boneyard Marauder, he wouldn't be able to play it.
So does this... And now he still has the action point, so he has Go Again. So he could switch into Levia Redeemed here?
I don't believe he has the 13
Oh, that's true.
required blood debt
That's
to
true.
go into Redeemed.
I forgot about that clause. Yep, that's a good call. So here comes
Buddy,
the Oath of Loyalty.
Yeah, Buddy deciding to block. Of course, if Buddy decided to take all that damage and go to 2, he would be prey to that Reckless Swing. Just instead committing more blocking cards using the Loyalty Beyond the Grave to draw an additional card at the start of the turn and play with it that way.
Now Chris in a really tough blocking situation here, but does get at least one of the value and the might off of the Apex Bonebreaker with the Swing Big coming out. Going to Glint, and the Reprise is in effect, so he gets to draw a card. 2 cards drawn here. Who would have thought Balance of Justice would be online?
Yeah, and Chris is stuck with a lot of difficult blocking decisions, of course. Some of the cards in his deck may not even block at all, which are not going to be good in this situation if that is the case for cards in hand.
He kind of has to hold on to something or he just dies to Blood Debt. And that is going to be 7, and good game here. And Buddy going to move into the finals on Fang, able to take down Chris on Levia. That
was definitely a fun game to watch. Of course, Chris always says that Warriors are his hardest matchups, and we are seeing that in that case as well. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see y'all in the finals.